we're preparing to talk about some of the teams that may be in the conversation for getting themselves into the NBA playoffs in a year after not going this season. Maybe because of the benefit of the moves they've made so far over the last couple of days. Could we consider the Memphis Grizzlies amongst that bunch? I don't know. Let's talk to a friend of mine and a man who definitely has his thoughts on it. Catch him every day on 92.9 ESPN in Memphis inside your Odyssey app. Also a part of the Field of 68 and a columnist at the Daily Memphian, my good friend Ja Martin. Good morning, John. How are you?
Well. How we doing, brother? Good to hear from you.
Good to see your face. Well, hear your voice. They put your face up on the screen so I could see it too, so it still feels like I'm talking to you. Yeah. Let's talk, before we get into what the Grizzlies did and some of the bigger picks of the draft over the last couple of days and your reaction to those, just instant reaction to the LaMelo Ball news. Dealt to the Minnesota Timberwolves for a first-round pick in 2033, an unprotected 2033 first-round pick, but more importantly, Naz Reid and a bunch of pick swaps in there as well. Can it work with LaMelo and Ant in the same backcourt?
My first pass at this deal is that I don't really like it because I don't really like LaMelo as a player. I mean, he's just unserious to me, and so you're trying to make a move because you have to, because you don't have a point guard and DiVincenzo's out for the year, and so you can't go into a year with Dosunmu or Mike Conley as your starting point guard, but for me, like, knowing how much Minnesota loves Naz Reid and how much of a fan favorite he is up there, like, to have to send him out to bring back LaMelo Ball, like, my guess is this is not a popular move at all in Minnesota. I don't think it really makes them better. I don't think LaMelo fits with what they do with their identity. Like, when you think about Minnesota, as limited as they may be, like, they all kind of do the same thing. They all are super tough. They all are able to defend multiple positions, and they take it seriously. And, like, none of those things applies to LaMelo. He's the guy that's going to, like, hezzy dribble, at the top of the key and put up a 30-footer, and it might go in and you'll get some oohs and ahs. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like, it kind of just feels like they're running it back with, like, a D'Angelo Russell type, I don't really think it makes them better. They have to do something, and I get it, but I don't think it's going to materially improve them, if at all. And I don't think the fans are going to like this move because it required sending out Naz Reid and a future first.
Yeah, I mean, the first is far enough out in the future that who knows what your team looks like in 7 years, but still, I think the Naz Reid part of that is the greater point here. And like you pointed out, the defense that you lose, especially you've got Rudy Gobert, but when Rudy gets in foul trouble or you're going up against the San Antonio or Oklahoma City in the Western Conference, you need two of those guys, and they've only got one now. So, like you, not immediately a huge fan of this for Timberwolves fans. Let me pivot to your Grizz. It is the summer of trying to get out from under Ja Morant. And also the summer of trying to build this roster out in a way that can compete sooner rather than later, right? Like they've got the front court, they've got the rim protection now. By adding Isaiah Stewart, you've got a complement to Zach Edey or a backup to Zach Edey when he's healthy. They've got the size now, John, up front. How comfortable are they, do you think, with the roster in totality? What other dominoes need to fall into place this summer?
Well, I mean, they got to figure out what the hell they're doing with Ja Morant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's priority number one. And maybe this LaMelo deal sort of sets a market a little bit for that. I mean, they've obviously had a hellacious time getting Ja off the roster, which unequivocally they want to do. They wanted to do it in January when they announced that they were listening to trade offers. They wanted to do it at the trade deadline. Their logic was simply, hey, maybe we let some of these contenders go through a playoff series, see what they're missing, maybe see a two-time All-Star on our roster and say he's worth a first, or if it's not a first, just something to where we don't have to attach a pick to get him off. So they've been trying to get rid of him, for 5-6 months now, but they can't. And so I think they're going to have to figure out, is it worth us attaching a future pick? Because the truth is, with the new lottery system, first-round picks become, they could become more or less valuable depending on where they are. Like a team that you may think will be middling. Well, in the old system, that might have meant I don't want that first. Well, now it means you do. So I don't know what the Grizzlies, outlook on that is. Do they value their picks more now? Do they value them less? I don't know. But I don't know how tenable it is to, expect Ja Morant to be on this roster next year, given everything that's going on between him and the franchise. So I think, the first order of business is just figuring out who will trade for Ja Morant. There's got to be somebody out there that will take a shot on the guy. But that's, until anything else happens, I think that's what they have to figure out.
John Martin with us from Memphis, 92.9 ESPN in Memphis, inside your Odyssey app, columnist for the Daily Memphian, also a contributor to the Field of 68. So I don't know a person who I consider myself friends with that watches more college basketball than this man every single year. Let me ask you your initial reactions to the top of the draft on Tuesday night, John. Debanza to Washington, Peterson to Utah, and how it shook out from there. Obviously, I know you're excited about Boozer.
Yeah, Boozer is sort of my favorite player and favorite fit in the draft. I mean, if there's a franchise in the NBA that needs less off-court drama, less BS, it is the Grizzlies. And so I think he fits into that mold. I mean, you're talking about a winning pedigree, a professional. I think he raises the floor. Is he going to be an 8-time All-Star? Probably not. But you look at the history of top 3 picks. I mean, most of those are hits. And I would also say, a freshman that goes on to win the John Wooden Award in college basketball, he's never been a bad NBA player. Like, in fact, he's only been great. If you're a freshman, you win that award, which is Player of the Year, and you go to the NBA, which all of them do, you're talking about Kevin Durant, you're talking about Anthony Davis, you're talking about Cooper Flagg, you're talking about Zion Williamson. And I know I'm missing a guy, but every single freshman that has won that award has gone on to be a good to great NBA player. So I think history is on the side here of Cam Boozer. Obviously, Darren Peterson is going to fit in great for Utah. I mean, they need a guy like him with his scoring punch in that backcourt. I know he had the inconsistency and the BS with the injury, and I'm sure they did their due diligence there in Utah and figured out what that was really about, and obviously determined that it's nothing to worry about long term. Guy shot 38% on high volume on a not great Kansas team. Like, they didn't have a bunch of great players. It was a down Kansas team. So I think he's going to be a great NBA player. AJ's raw, but the ability is there, the athleticism. Who can't get excited about that in Washington with what they're trying to do? Most excitement they've had in a long, long time. So yeah, I mean, I think the top 3. I think all 3 of those guys are going to go on to have illustrious, good NBA careers. I'm less convinced about Caleb Wilson. I think there is a big drop-off between 3 and 4 because Caleb Wilson can't shoot. He can't shoot, and he didn't shoot. These are things that would disturb me at the NBA level because if you can't shoot, you can't play. That's the game today. So that would be what I would be worried about is Caleb Wilson in Chicago and just how impactful he can be, over the course of a 10-year career.
John, before I let you run, I want to circle back around to the Grizzlies specifically. And between Stewart, Edey, and Boozer now, this is, and it's funny, it ties back to what we were just talking about with the T-Wolves giving up Naz Reid in the LaMelo Ball deal. The Western Conference especially, but across the NBA, the Western Conference especially, though, if you do not have a front line that can all be on the floor together and compete, ultimately when it comes down to trying to get through San Antonio or Oklahoma City, you're not going to be able to do much of anything. Is that a theme that you think we're going to see continue to get built out, not just this offseason, but over the next year or two, as people try to find some sort of way to compete against the 2 big boys in the West?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, you saw that even with the Spurs, right? The Spurs have Wemby, who everybody's trying to counter, and they said, listen, when Wemby wasn't on the floor, we got absolutely destroyed. So we had to go draft 2 centers, one of them being Jaden Quaintance. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just like even though the Spurs lost that series, everybody knows that, they had a very live shot to win that series, and they were leading for the majority of that series, and that was simply a matter of being young and inexperienced at that level. They know the Spurs are coming, so everything's going to be a Wemby counter. Everything's going to be about being big and being, having shot blocking ability and rim protection inside. Now, there's only one Wemby, so you can chase it. But yeah, I mean, I do think the NBA is definitely, it's going to morph into whatever the meta is, and right now the meta is Victor Wembanyama. And how do you and how can you counter that? We saw, there are some ways you can rough him up. He can be physical. So I think you'll see more physical bigs, become a thing. Like the Grizzlies just traded for Isaiah Stewart yesterday. I think guys like that, are going to be more, more valuable around the league, who are not afraid to stick their nose in. So yeah, I think that's what you're going to see in terms of that arms race. It's just getting more physical and as big as you possibly can to counter, the obvious mismatch nightmare that is Wemby.
John, I'm going to let you run. Congrats on the new edition. I know it's been a couple of months, but it was great to hear your voice again. Yeah. Keep working hard, my brother, and we will check you out all over the place because now you got as many kids as
Likewise,
jobs. You finally evened up.
That's right, my man. Thank you, dog.
See ya. John Martin from 92.9 ESPN in Memphis. Catch him every day inside the Odyssey app. Also, contributor to the Field of 68 and a columnist for the Daily Memphis.